You are drifting on the warm skin of a sea you have never been allowed to enter. This is how my kind lives. We are the Alu, and we are made of breath and lightness, bladders of warm gas, thin membranes, riding the top half-meter of every ocean and every sky we can reach. We are born on the surface. We die on the surface. The one thing the universe has forbidden us is the thing your species seems to love most, the descent. To go down for us is to be crushed flat in an instant, our light snuffed out before we even feel the cold. So when we study a living world, we study it from above, looking down into water we can never touch, the way you might stare down into a well and imagine what lives at the bottom. And tonight I am staring down into the bottom of the Trincomalee Canyon, off the eastern shore of the island you call Sri Lanka, and I am watching the dark eat something alive. There is a flash of silver far below, a fish, fast and frantic, climbing toward the light. And then, rising out of the black to meet it, a shape so large that my whole sensory cluster recoils. A mouth, a wall of muscle and shadow. The silver disappears. The dark closes over it like a fist, and the canyon goes still again, and the surface where I float does not even ripple. A life ended a kilometer beneath me, and the sea did not bother to mention it. This place should not exist. Within sight of a beach where human children play, the seabed simply falls away, down past the light, down past the warmth, down to a crushing blackness over 1,000 meters deep. It is one of the only places on this planet where the abyss comes this close to the shore. And it is here, in this gathering dark, that the most dangerous creatures of this ocean come to hunt. Which raises the question I have been sent across the void to answer. On a world full of things that flee from danger, that swim up, that run away, that hide, why does this planet keep producing the opposite? Why does it keep building creatures that turn and swim down, straight toward the thing that should kill them? Before I take you into that dark with me, let me say this plainly, the way the humans say it to one another when they share their stories. If these forgotten observations of life on other worlds are worth your time, then mark this record, pass it onward, and tell me from which corner of the stars you are listening. I find it a strange comfort that we are studying this small blue planet together, scattered across the galaxy, bound only by the same impossible curiosity. Because down there in that water is a woman named Tharushi Fernando, and she is about to do the single most insane thing I have witnessed in 40 years of watching your species. She is on a small wooden boat right now, a battered thing painted blue and white, anchored over the lip of the canyon in the gray hour before dawn. There are 3 others with her, a younger diver, a boat hand, and an old skipper named Sunil whose face is a map of every storm he has survived. They are not laughing. They have been awake all night. And the reason they have not slept is the sound that has been reaching them across the flat water since midnight. A wet, percussive, gasping boom, over and over, the sound of something enormous slapping the surface in a panic it cannot escape. Somewhere out there in the dark, one of the great hunters of this canyon is dying. And Tharushi Fernando, all 61 kilograms of her, holding nothing but a single knife and a single lungful of air, is going to go down and try to save it. And again, I must tell you now, so you understand the scale of what you are about to see, this should have ended her. By every law my kind lives by, this should have ended her. But to understand why she goes down, you first have to understand what is down there. You have to understand the creature in the net. Let me show you the apex of the dark. The sperm whale is the largest predator that has ever lived on this planet. Not the largest animal, that title belongs to a gentle filter feeder. The largest predator. The largest hunting thing that has ever existed, on land or in sea, in the entire history of this world. A grown male can stretch 18 meters and weigh more than 50 tons. Its head alone, that vast, square, blunt prow, accounts for 1/3 of its body, and inside it sits the most powerful sound-making organ ever evolved by any creature anywhere. Imagine that. 1/3 of the largest predator in history is dedicated not to teeth, not to jaws, but to sound. Because down in the black, where the sun has never once reached and never will, eyes are useless. So this creature hunts with noise. It produces a click, a single, focused acoustic hammer blow, so loud that it is, by raw measurement, the loudest sound made by any living thing on Earth. Loud enough, some of your own scientists suspect, to stun prey at close range. It floods the darkness with these clicks, listens to the echoes returning, and builds in its mind a perfect three-dimensional picture of a world it has never seen with its eyes. It hunts the lightless deep the way you might read a room by clapping your hands and listening to the walls answer. And what does it hunt? It hunts the thing that nightmares are made of. A kilometer down, in cold and pressure that would flatten my entire species into a smear of nothing, the sperm whale goes hunting the giant squid, and its larger, fiercer cousin, the colossal squid, animals with tentacles longer than a bus and eyes the size of dinner plates, eyes evolved specifically to spot the one monster that comes for them in the dark. Think about what that means. The squid grew the largest eyes in the animal kingdom for a single purpose, to see the sperm whale coming. That is how dangerous this hunter is. Its prey rewrote its own body just to get a few seconds of warning. To reach that prey, the whale performs a feat that breaks every rule my kind would call survival. It fills its lungs, rolls its great body downward, and dives not 10 meters, not 100, but as deep as 2,000 meters, holding a single breath for as long as 90 minutes. Its ribcage collapses on purpose. Its heart slows to a crawl. Blood retreats from the edges of its body and pools around the brain and heart, keeping only the essential things alive while the rest of it shuts down to endure a pressure that would crush a steel submarine. It does this in absolute darkness, alone, dozens of times a day, every day of its life, for up to 70 years. And when it finds the squid, it does not flee. It bites. It battles. Many of these whales carry round scars across their heads for their entire lives, perfect circles, the size of plates, left by the clawed suckers of squid that fought back. They wear the marks of their wars like old soldiers, and they go down and fight again the next day. This is the creature my kind cannot comprehend. We spend our lives clinging to the warm, lit surface, terrified of the cold below. The sperm whale was handed the same ocean and chose to make the abyss its home. It looked at the most dangerous place on the planet and decided to live there. It looked at the most dangerous animal in that place and decided to eat it. It is, in every measurable way, perfect, sovereign, untouchable. For 60 million years the deep belonged to it utterly, and nothing in all that crushing black ever found a way to bring it down. Which is exactly why what is happening tonight is so wrong. Because the creature thrashing on the surface above the Trincomalee Canyon is one of these gods of the deep, and something has finally found its flaw. Here is the cruel truth of it. The sperm whale conquered pressure, conquered darkness, conquered the largest predatory squid the ocean ever produced. But it never evolved a defense against the one thing it was never meant to face. A wall in the open water that it cannot see, cannot bite, and cannot understand. A few weeks ago, somewhere far out in the Indian Ocean, a fishing vessel lost a net. Perhaps it snapped in a storm. Perhaps it was simply cut loose and abandoned, the cheapest way to deal with a tangle. It does not matter. What matters is that a wall of synthetic mesh, hundreds of meters of it, drifted free into the current and became what your species grimly calls a ghost net. A net that fishes forever, owned by no one, killing without purpose, drifting through the blue catching turtles and dolphins and fish and dragging them down, and then catching more on top of their bones. And 3 nights ago, a young sperm whale not yet full grown, perhaps a third the size of the giants I described, still learning the canyon, still learning how to hunt, rose too fast through the dark and swam straight into it. Sit with the bitterness of that for a moment. The most powerful hunter in the history of this planet, undone not by a rival, not by a storm, not by anything the ancient ocean ever threw at it, but by a piece of garbage, by forgotten human equipment. The killer in the water tonight was made by the same species that is about to risk everything to undo it. The thing dragging the whale to its death came from the hand of man, and the only thing that can save it is also, somehow, the hand of man. The net is wrapped around the whale's tail and lower body, and through its jaw, and the more it panics, the tighter the knots pull. Every desperate surge to reach the surface for air costs it more strength than the last, and the net is heavy, waterlogged, fouled with weeks of dead weight. So every time the whale tires, the net's mass begins slowly to pull it back down toward the canyon it loves and now cannot escape. The deep, which was always its home, has become its executioner, and it is dragging the whale down to die in the one place it was born to rule. This is the flaw in the giant, not weakness, not cowardice, simply that perfection built for one kind of war has no answer for a stupid, senseless trap that fights with no strategy at all. And the humans on the little blue boat understand exactly what they are looking at. They have seen it before. They know the whale has perhaps a day, maybe less, before exhaustion wins and the net pulls it under for good. So at first light, they do the obvious thing. They do the thing that any reasonable creature would do. They try to fight the problem with force. They bring the boat in close, and the younger diver throws a grappling hook to snag the trailing net, and Sunil opens the throttle to drag the whole tangled mass away from the animal. It is a disaster. The whale does not understand that they are trying to help. Why would it? To the whale, a small hard object has just rammed into the agony wrapped around its body and begun pulling. To the whale, this is a new predator joining the old one. It panics in a way it has not panicked yet, a full, terrified 50-ton convulsion, and its tail comes up out of the water, a flat slab of muscle wider than the boat itself, and it slams down. The wave nearly capsizes them. The younger diver, leaning out with the hook line wrapped once around his forearm, is yanked clean off the deck into the water. For 3 seconds that stretch into eternity, he is being dragged through the sea by a panicking leviathan, and the only thing that saves him is Sunil's knife coming down on the rope. The line parts. The man comes up coughing blood-pink seawater, his forearm scored white where the rope tried to take his hand. And again, that should have ended him. By every measure I understand, that man should be gone. The tally in my mind clicks upward. The hook is lost. The whale is now more entangled than before because the violence drove the net deeper into its jaw. And worst of all, something has changed in the animal's eyes. It will not let the boat near it now. Every time the engine starts, it thrashes away. The humans have done the one thing they could not afford to do. They have taught the whale that they are the enemy. Sunil cuts the engine and lets the boat drift, and for a long time nobody speaks. The sun climbs. The booming, gasping rhythm of the dying whale goes on and on across the flat sea. They have thrown their power at the problem: boat, engine, steel, ropes, the full toolkit of human strength, and the problem has thrown it all back in their faces and nearly drowned one of them for the insult. This is the moment on your world when most creatures would leave. The smart move, the survivable move, is to turn the boat for home and let the ocean do what the ocean does. Sunil is old enough to know this. He says as much quietly to Tharushi, that some things cannot be saved, that the sea takes what it takes, that no net was ever worth a human life. And here is where I have to set down everything my kind believes about what is sensible, because Tharushi Fernando is not listening to the sensible voice. She has spent the whole disaster watching, not the net, but the whale's eye. That night, anchored a respectful distance off, the crew tries to rest and cannot. Tharushi sits at the bow with her knees drawn up and stares at the dark water, and I drift just above her, close enough to see the thought turning over behind her eyes. She has understood something the others have not. The problem was never the net. The net is simple, a few cuts in the right places and it falls away. The problem is that you cannot cut a net off an animal that is fighting you. Every solution the humans have tried has failed for the same reason. They tried to overpower the whale, and nothing in this ocean overpowers a sperm whale. The squid learned that. The deep learned that. The humans have just learned it too. So she arrives, alone at the bow in the dark, at an idea so backwards that it sounds like surrender. If force will not work, then she will bring no force at all. No boat, no engine, no hook, no rope, no power. She will take a single knife and a single breath, and she will go down into the water with the most dangerous predator in the history of the planet. And she will make herself so calm, so still, so utterly unthreatening, that a panicking 50-ton animal chooses to let her come close enough to cut. She is not going to defeat the whale. She is going to ask its permission. Sunil thinks she has lost her mind. He is not wrong to think so. A frightened whale's tail can kill a human without the whale even intending it. One reflexive flick, one wrong moment, and she means to put her soft, breakable body inside the reach of that tail on purpose, while holding her breath, with no way to defend herself and no quick way to flee. She tells him, simply, that the whale has been trying to tell them all day that it is afraid, and that nobody has been listening, and that fear cannot be cut away with a hook. It can only be answered with calm. She tells him that the only thing in the water more patient than a frightened animal has to be the person trying to free it. And she tells him she would rather fail trying to understand the whale than succeed by breaking it. I have heard your species say many strange things across 40 years of watching. That one I have never forgotten. So as the second night wears toward its end, the whale is failing. You can hear it in the breathing. Earlier, the gasps were violent, furious, full of fight. Now they are slower, longer gaps between them. Twice during the night, the sound stops entirely for so long that everyone on the boat rises to their feet in dread. And then, at the last possible instant, comes the wet, exhausted boom of one more breath dragged from one more trip to a surface the whale can barely reach anymore. The net's slow downward pull is winning. Each breath is bought with strength the whale no longer has to spare. And the held breath, that magnificent, world-conquering breath that let this creature own the abyss for 60 million years, has become the thing that is killing it, because now it cannot hold one long enough to rest, and it cannot reach the air often enough to recover. Watch the cruelty of it. The deep made this animal a god by teaching it to hold its breath in the dark. And now, tangled and exhausted at the surface, it is being killed by the very gift that made it great. The crew is unraveling too. The younger diver, his forearm bandaged, has stopped believing. Sunil has gone quiet in the particular way of a man preparing himself to watch something die. They have been awake for nearly 2 days. They have failed once badly and nearly buried a friend doing it. Every reasonable instinct any creature possesses is telling them the same thing the ocean is telling them. It is over, go home, you tried. And the tally in my mind keeps clicking. Every near miss, every breath the whale should not have managed, every hour these humans have stayed out here when leaving was the only sane choice. Again and again, by my reckoning, this should have ended. The whale should have gone under. The crew should have gone home. The story should have closed in the dark with the canyon swallowing one more life and not bothering to ripple. But there is one creature on that boat who has not given up, and she is doing something I did not expect. She is not panicking. She is not arguing. While the rest of them despair, Tharushi Fernando has lain down flat on the deck, and she is breathing. That is all. Long, slow, deliberate breaths. In through the nose for a count, hold out for twice as long. Down and down into her own body, slowing her own heart on purpose, the way the whale slows its heart to dive. She is, in her small, soft way, teaching her body to do the one thing this whale's whole species is built to do. She is becoming, breath by breath, a creature of the deep. The dark is closing in around the whale, and the only answer the humans have left is the stillness of one woman lying on her back, counting her own heartbeats down. Then comes the quiet hour, the one before dawn, when the wind drops and the sea goes to glass. There is no speech to repeat to you, because Tharushi does not make a speech. The humans do not gather and pray as a doomed city might. They do something quieter and, to my eye, harder. They get to work together after losing all hope, simply because she has decided the work will happen and they will not let her go down alone. Sunil, who an hour ago begged her to quit, now checks her knife and her weight belt with hands that have done this 1,000 times for fishing and never once for this. The younger diver, the one the whale nearly killed, will not be talked out of going into the water with her as a watcher, bandaged arm and all. The boat hand readies a line not to pull the whale this time, but to pull her fast if the worst happens. They have stopped trying to defeat the animal. Now every single thing they prepare is bent toward one purpose, keeping one fragile human alive inside the reach of a dying god. Tharushi sits on the edge of the boat in the gray light, and for a few minutes she does nothing but breathe and look at the water where the whale lies. She is not steeling herself for a fight. There is no fight to steel for. She is doing the opposite. She is emptying herself of fear, because she knows, she truly understands, that the whale will feel her fear the moment she enters the water, will read it in the tightness of her body and the speed of her heart, and will answer fear with fear. The only gift she can bring this animal is the absence of threat. She has to become, for a few minutes, the calmest thing in the entire ocean. She slipped into the sea without a splash. And now I have to take you down with her, into the part of this world my kind will never see, and tell you what I could only watch from the surface and what she described after, with tears in her eyes. The water below the boat is a column of deep blue light fading to black. She descends slowly along the slope of the canyon's edge, finning gently, hands loose, body relaxed, and ahead of her, hanging in the blue, is the whale. It is bigger than she imagined. Even young, even exhausted, it fills her vision like a wall. The net is a horror wrapped through the jaw, cinched around the tail stalk, trailing a long, fouled curtain of mesh and dead weight into the dark below. The animal's great square head turns. The eye finds her. A small, dark, intelligent eye, set in all that scarred gray skin, and it tracks her the way a frightened thing tracks a new threat. And here is the moment the whole world hangs on. This is the unlocked gate, the tiny hinge on which the entire fate of this turns. The whale could flick its tail right now. One small reflex. It would not even need to mean it. And Tharushi Fernando, soft and breathing borrowed air, would be gone. She does the only thing she can. She stops. She stops kicking. She stops approaching. She hangs in the water, completely still, well outside the reach of the tail, and she does nothing at all. She lets the seconds pass. She lets her own heart, which she has trained all night to be slow, stay slow. She makes herself a thing that is simply there, not coming, not fleeing, not threatening, just present in the blue beside a frightened animal, sharing its water, asking nothing. And the whale watches her, and nothing happens, and more seconds pass, and the tail does not flick. 3 times she rises for air and comes back down, and each time she stops a little closer, and each time she does nothing, and each time the whale lets her stay. She is not defeating its fear. She is outlasting it. She is proving, breath by breath, descent by descent, that this small, strange creature is not the enemy the others were. On the 4th dive, the whale lets her reach the net. I want you to understand what this is. This is not a tame animal. This is the apex predator of the deep, the eater of giant squid, 50 million years of perfected violence, and it has made a choice. Cornered, exhausted, terrified, with every instinct screaming at it to thrash, it has chosen instead to hold still and let a creature it does not understand come within reach of its body with a blade. It is the single bravest thing I have ever seen a wild animal do. It is, in its own way, exactly what its whole species does every day. It has looked at the thing it should fear most, and it has gone toward it. Her knife finds the first rope. It parts. She does not rush. She works the worst of the knots at the jaw with her fingers, feeling for where the mesh has cut into flesh and the whale holds. She rises, breathes, returns, cuts another. The net begins to loosen. The curtain of dead weight slides a little. The whale feels it, feels the first easing in 3 days of strangling pressure, and it does not bolt. It waits for her. And then there is one last loop. The cruelest one, cinched around the tail stalk, the one that has been dragging the animal down. It is under tension, wound tight, and to cut it she has to come fully within the reach of that tail, the very thing that nearly killed a man yesterday, and place her hands on the killing muscle of a 50-ton predator and trust it not to move. She has one breath left in her. She uses it. She goes in, lays her free hand flat against the great gray flank, not gripping, just touching, the way you'd lay a palm on something to say, "I'm here, I'm not going to hurt you," and with the other hand she cuts the final loop. The net falls away into the dark. For one heartbeat, the whale simply hangs there free, as if it does not believe it. And then, with a single slow sweep of the tail that could have killed her and instead barely brushes the water around her, it begins to rise. She rises with it out of air now, lungs burning, kicking for the silver ceiling of the surface. And the whale rises beside her, the two of them climbing out of the blue together, and they break the surface into the dawn at the very same moment. And the whale exhales a great misted breath that hangs in the gold light, and Tharushi Fernando gulps down the sweetest lungful of air a human has ever taken. And here is the part I came across the void to witness, the part that has rearranged everything my kind thought we understood about this planet. The whale does not flee. It is free. The net is gone. The open ocean is right there, and every instinct it owns should send it diving for the safety of the deep, away from the boats and the hooks and the soft, dangerous creatures of the surface. That is what danger does. Danger leaves. It does not leave. It turns slowly in the gold water and it comes back. It comes to rest alongside her, this giant, this god of the dark, and it lies there in the light beside the small breathing human who freed it, and it lets out one long, low, rolling click, that loudest sound in the living world, the hunting hammer of the deep, but soft now, aimed at her, filling her whole body with a sound she will say afterward that she did not hear so much as feel in her chest, in her bones. A sound from a creature that builds its entire world out of sound, given to her, deliberately, before it finally rolls its great body downward and slips back into the dark it loves, healed, alive and home. And the tally in my mind, the one I have kept across 40 years and 400 near deaths, the one that says this should have ended them for the first time, I close it, because it did not end them. It never does with this strange species. They keep going down into the dark that should kill them, and they keep coming back up holding something alive. I told you at the beginning that I was sent to answer a question. Why does this planet keep building creatures that swim toward the danger instead of away from it? I came expecting the answer to be the whale, the hunter that descends into the crushing black to fight monsters. Surely, I thought, that is the predator-hunter of this story, the one who chases the ocean's most dangerous creatures. I was wrong. The whale descends to feed. It goes toward danger for itself, to survive, as all hunters do. That is remarkable, but it is not the thing I could not explain. The thing I could not explain was the woman, because Tharushi Fernando went down into that same killing dark, with no teeth, no power, no reason of survival, no benefit to herself at all, and she did it for something that was not even her own kind. She is the real predator-hunter of this story, the one creature on the whole planet that hunts danger not to eat it, but to pull something out of it. The one species that looks at the deepest, coldest, most fatal place it can find and thinks, something is trapped down there, and so I will go. My kind has spent its entire existence afraid of the descent. We were given the gift of lightness and we used it to stay safe on the warm lit surface forever. And we were right to. The deep would crush us. But watching that woman rise into the dawn beside a creature she had no reason to save, I understood at last the thing my whole species had gotten wrong, that the surface is safe, yes, and that nothing worth saving has ever lived on the surface. The dangerous creatures, it turns out, are not the ones who hunt. They are the rare few who choose to go toward the dark for someone other than themselves. And on this small blue planet, against every law of sense and survival I know, that creature keeps being the human. So I will leave you with the same question they always leave each other. Somewhere in your own life there is a dark you have been told to stay away from, a depth you are sure would crush you, a trapped thing you have decided is not your problem to free. I am only a drifting watcher made of breath and light, and I have no right to tell you what to do. But I have watched a soft, breakable creature go down into the one place she was sure would kill her, and come back up holding a life. Tell me then, from wherever you are listening across the stars, what is the dark you keep refusing to dive into? And what do you think is waiting down there, holding its breath, for someone brave enough to come?